Hello, good evening. Welcome to Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, says it right down there. I hope you guys are well. It is the last episode of the year, so goodbye to 2022. We've got loads of people waiting already in the live chat. Thanks for being early, guys. Or is it just me? I'm just a little bit behind. I don't know. So we've got Stafford. I'm on my phone as Windows decided to update. I was just reading it just before I came onto the screen. And then you say, I hope Danny's isn't updating too. No, all good. Touch wood. Let's hope it doesn't happen. If I suddenly go blank, it's because mine decides to update, and yeah, I have no control over it. Hopefully that doesn't happen. That would be a bit of a funny end to 2022. It is the end of 2022, right? So there's a lot to look back on. I mean, we're doing the third season now, or third volume. I don't like calling it a season, but you know what I mean. It's like the third year of doing Easy 8, which is absolutely fantastic by all accounts for me, and I'm glad that you guys are still here following me all the way through. 2022 has had a lot to kind of present itself with. I mean, obviously we've got all the political stuff going here on the UK, where we've had more British Prime Ministers than I think I could ever remember, all in the space of just a few weeks, months. Obviously we've got, you know, our own kind of cost of living crisis going on over here, the war in Ukraine, which is obviously a massive issue. The guys over in the US right now, if you guys are watching live or even watching later back on replay, please be safe, stay safe. I hope that you guys are doing okay, because it's getting a bit serious. It's gone beyond a bit serious. So my thoughts are with you. I suppose the snowball fights are not fun anymore. It must be really, really bad. So yeah, just look after yourselves, and I hope you're okay. And of course, you know, there've been so many celebrities passing, people that, you know, that we'll never see again. And of course, the beginning of the year saw the end of my best friend, my cat, who probably a lot of people will be like, "But Danny, it's just a cat." But my best friend of many, many years passed away. So this year has got a lot of things to look back on, a lot of negativity, I suppose. But it's had also a lot of ups. There's been so many good things going on as well, and I suppose just kind of looking into the next year, moving forward, I suppose it's just nice to be able to kind of wipe the old year away. Goodbye with 2022, despite the ups, but definitely goodbye to the downs. Let's move into 2023 with a sense of optimism. And you know, are you guys the sort of people who get into New Year's resolutions? Are you going to set yourselves painting targets or just general personal targets? I'd love to know about them. So if you are going to set yourself any modelling or you know, hobby New Year's resolutions, drop them over here in the live chat and join in with the rest of the guys. We've got Jeff. Oi oi, hi mate, how's it going? The live chat is going crazy. I don't know if I can keep up with it. Keslin, hi all. Yeah, Staff's just saying that he's special. Yeah, I agree with Jeff. Yeah, you are special. Thanks for coming along this evening, guys, for the end of year. It is a special. Let's call it a special. So you're not the only special person. That would make you special. Anyway, upside Bovington twice on a quiet day. Yeah, man, we got to go to Bovington Museum. We did quite a few outings with the Easy 8 crew as well. Did we? The community, we got to go out, and we are looking forward to going away next year. I'll do the whole salute thing now, shall I? Because I do it at the end of the show. Probably a bit bored of that. If you are tuning in right now and you are in the UK, or think that you'll be in the UK next year, around about April the 22nd, myself and the Easy 8 community are all going to get together, and we're going to go to Salutes next year. Which is the UK's biggest war game show / convention, whatever you want to call it. Tickets are only £12. Obviously, rail strikes, another one of those things that's been going on lately. Might present an issue at the time, so if you are interested in going, maybe get a bit of a plan going. You could always start a communication with me if you want to. I'll be more than happy to help you book your tickets, arrange your travel. I'm not going to arrange your travel for you, but I'll help you through that if you want to. It'd be great to get the communities together. Dave Lester's joined us. Hi Dave, really quiet day. Yeah, he's referring to Bovington. I messed up. I thought I was taking everybody to the Tank Museum on a really quiet day. Turned out it was Tiger Day, one of the two busiest days of the year. They changed the dates. It wasn't my fault. We all know this. Stop milking that cow. All right. Anyway, cool. What are we going to be doing tonight? I am going to be just cracking on with a little project that I started last week. So really stoked to have finished the year, having finished a project. albeit a kind of a broken project. I kind of halved it because it was just too much. 16 little minis were just taking the mick, frankly. So I've decided to move on to these 2 little Tyranid Guard, which you'll see up close in just a minute. And I've only just kind of primed them. I've done a little bit more repair work on them, so got a bit more priming to do, and I'm getting straight into the yellow, which I'm really, really stoked for. I also just want to say to everyone who's followed me from the beginning, or just been a part of the journey, even if it's just been the last few weeks, for subscribing and following, thank you so much. We have managed to make the goal that I set, and I've been redoing that goal. We have managed to make it to 75 subscribers by just a few hours earlier on today. We managed to make it to 75, so thank you very, very much. Every subscriber that comes and joins the community helps me feel really egotistical, makes me feel really happy about what I'm doing, and it just kind of reminds me that the community is important to some people. I don't mind the fact that I'm not into the thousands or anything ridiculous like that. It's an organic process. The people who are subscribing want to subscribe, they want to be here. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thanks for coming along, and don't be a stranger. If you want to join in the live chat, if you're watching live, or if you just want to kind of communicate, if you're watching back on replay, just drop us a line. I read everything and I try to reply to everything as well, so it'd be nice to hear from you new people and the old people as well. So 75 subscribers, wicked, right? Made my day. Anyway, I'm just making sure that I've kind of said everything here. Yes, stalwart friends and followers, which has got a lot to kind of consider for the end of 2022. Yeah. Dedicate the show to all of you guys, to the years past and many more years to come, and friends that aren't with us anymore. So here we go. If you do like what we do here, don't forget to like, share, follow and subscribe. We're not just here on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, and if you want to join us at the end of the show for a little bit with a live video chat, then you can come and join us on Discord. All the links to all our platforms are down there in the description to this video. It'll be lovely to hear from you. Share the word. We're getting bigger and it's wonderful, right? Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on over to the workbench. I'm not going to see if we can get to 80 subscribers before New Year. Cheeky. I'm not going to do it. 75 is a lush number. Anyway, if you are working on something this evening, if you're working on a little project, or even if you're just sitting back chilling out with some mates with a glass of wine, cheers. Here's to the new year. I'd love to know what project it is that you're working on this evening. I genuinely am interested. I'm not just saying that to kind of get any kind of conversation going. I'm genuinely interested in the projects that you're working on. So do let me know. Share it over here in the live chat. If you're watching back on replay, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. 100 surely? Don't know what you're talking about. 100? Oh, 100 subscribers. Yeah, but come on. In one day? I mean, 5 more easily, but 25? I mean, if you can get them, come bring them along. Anyway, I promise I won't drink too much today. Here's what I'm working on. 2 little hive tyrants. I say hive tyrants, they're not hive tyrants and they're not little. They are medium-sized creatures and they are hive guard. I spoke about them probably at length last week. So you can see them here with their 2 different guns but looking very similar to each other. All primed and ready to go, but there's a little bit of damage on the top here. That is because I did a little bit of gap filling. When these were put together, they kind of just didn't align up properly. They weren't made by me. They were made by a very generous friend, Leslie, who sometimes watches the show, and he donated them to me for free along with a whole box of other Tyranids. Thank you so much, Leslie. I'm always going to be saying thank you for that. So I just kind of filled them with a little bit of plastic putty. That plastic putty is a liquid form, like liquid green stuff, but it's a little bit easier to work with. This is the Vallejo one. I don't know if I'm too fond of it, but it seems to have certain applications, and I just kind of smeared it in and then sanded it down, and it took a couple of goes. So I primed them after I'd done that and realised that it wasn't good enough, so I sanded it back a bit. I've done a little bit of priming over the top. I don't mind so much if it's not totally covering primer, because it's going to go grey on there anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them another hit of primer, and then let them dry quickly. It won't take very long. Then I'm going to hit them with some yellow. I have cleaned my airbrush out just before the show went live earlier on, and there was a tiny blockage, and then it seemed to clear itself. So hopefully no major issues with the airbrush. Let's see what happens. Making sure there's no debris or detritus that's got into the nozzle there. Putting the nozzle back on, very dangerous way. I want to break my the point of my needle. Anyway, cool. So what do I use? I use surface primer from Vallejo. Some more comments going in. Yeah, hi Dave. 100 surely, says Stafford. Ket says, I'm finishing my last 6 Steiner mechs. Oh yeah, those blue and yellow mechs that you put up on Facebook the other day. They're looking really good. Do you know, I did comment on them. What I really like is because you got those really bold, defined yellow and blue colours. I like the small amount of bright orange on the cockpits that shows through. I think they look almost like they're lit up. I really like that. And you said they're going to stand out differently when you wash them as well. So looking forward to how they're going. Are you going to weather them in any way, or are you just going to kind of wash them to bring out the details? Because I know you've got a lot of them to get through, haven't you? Jeff says, working frantically on the Hush Hush Salute build. Yes, Jeff Lacey is my dad, for those of you that don't know, and he runs Purple Lion Creations. That is an unscripted plug for the company. You're welcome. Purple Lion Creations, my dad does custom builds, bespoke builds for any kind of terrain or building work or anything that you want for your war games. And he's going to Salute, and he's working on a project with some other people prominent within the industry for a big display, and it's a big I've seen it. It's a massive display. It's going to be at Salute, so you can go and get your eyeballs on that if you want to at some point. Just looking for my mixing brush. It's over here. Today you'll be pleased to know that I have clean water, but I have not cleaned my palette, just for you guys. I did that deliberately. Right. Hidden my airbrush thinner behind my wine. What's the worst that could happen there? Just going to pop one little drop of thinner in there. I put it in too thin earlier on. That's what's giving me that thin coat on top of my Tyranid here. Cool. Just going to give it a bit of a mix up in the hopper there. Kez says, washed and a bit of weathering. Oh, okay, cool. Just got to paint the feet and then base them. Are they going on the clear stands? Because you've got clear hex stands and you've also got like terrain stands as well, haven't you? I like both of them. They both work quite well. Okay. Just the light going over. And I'm going to like prime the rest of them as well. I'm not just going to do just that one bit. Just making sure that the beast itself, especially where the skin parts are going to be, is nice and bright and white, because the yellow that's going to go on there is going to really benefit from that white undercoat. It really brightens it up, and I want the yellow to be really, really bright. When I put the washes on to kind of stain it and tone it all down, it does tone it right down, but I still want that yellow to be really prominent. So there's that first one there. Oh look, it's actually got a little bit left on the side. Missed that one, didn't I? The little bit of scratchy bits on the top there. Just going to move that light away. You might be able to hear some sounds of distracting family in the background. We've got some friends over this evening. They've just come back from seeing their family in distant UK lands, and they've come over for a meal. We were looking after their cats. They come over to say thank you and just been enjoying a meal. But they've got a little baby with them, and he's noisy today, so you might hear some laughing, screaming, running, whatever. He's just learned to walk, bless him. But he's downstairs and he's just had some dinner. So if you can hear noises, it's not intruders. Although that would be exciting. That would get some likes, wouldn't it? Right. Maybe I can stage that and make it look real. Unfortunately, where I've been sanding away down here, I haven't done a very good job of sanding it off, but it's going to be in an area where you're not going to be really looking that much. And I'll hide it with some of my lovely detailing with the greys much later. I'm sure I'll regret that decision as time goes on. But you just got to keep going. I always say it, you just got to keep on painting, right? Otherwise the machine stops. And a little bit on the side there. The trick is to not go too heavy and just have like a saturated model. Come back to just do like a light dusting. It wears my patience, but it is the best way. So it's still a bit shiny here. So what I do, just use the double action trigger, just to put some cold air through. I'm a little croaky today. Still got that cough that I've had for weeks and weeks and weeks. So if I'm a little bit croaky, my voice is going funny. Soz. I feel fine though. Just a little bubbly in the throat, you know what I mean. That's a bit annoying there. Got a little bit of a bobble of paint building up, so I'm just going to try and blow that down with some just some air. Not going to be doing anything on carapaces today, so if it does get carried away, it builds up too much, it might leave a texture. I can always sand that down. It will be annoying to have to sand it once I've already started the painting process, but I do want them to look really, really nice. I can see that Leslie has joined us. Howdy doody do. Hi Leslie. I was literally just talking about you about 2 or 3 minutes ago, saying thank you for these beautiful models that you have given to me out of the kindness of your heart. It's so lovely of you to join us live on our last show of the year, so thanks for coming along and nice to see you again, Leslie. I hope you're doing well. Kez says yeah, I'm going to do the clear bases. Yeah, they look really nice. I'm a big fan of putting terrain on the bases. I think it builds a nice story, especially when you get it right. But it's, you know, those clear bases that you got, they really work as well. We'll be priming the next 5 mechs tomorrow. Wolf Dragoon Mercenaries. What colour are they going to be? Wolf Dragoons, they're clan mechs as well, aren't they? Just run out of primer. The primer is going on very, very thin. I think I'm actually probably mixing my primer with a bit too much thinner. So I'm just going to put it in neat, just a couple of blobs, and just see how different that is. Normally, I don't like to push my primer through without any thinner in it at all, because it's quite thick, as is its nature. But it might just be that it's working for me tonight. So again, just a bit of cold air on here, just to help dry that first coat. Don't really want to be mucking around with carapaces and undercoating too much tonight. I've done that a bit already, right? Just want to kind of get this done, let it dry, and get on with the yellow. Here he is. Nicely done, Kez. Leslie says, you're most welcome, dude. Sorry I've been away for ages. No, man, you have absolutely no obligation to come along to watch back or come along live. Everyone's got their lives and everyone does their thing. It's just nice to see you again, so thanks for coming along. I've seen some of the models you've painted online. Really nice stuff, dude. Thank you so much. That's really kind. Have you been working on anything, Leslie, or have you been like busy doing life stuff? See, what I've done there is I've put that on without any thinner. It's gone on much better. So there we go. I can still see the seam between the two, so I might have to try and hide that with some cheeky paintwork at that stage. I could sit here and try and repair, but I've got so many models to paint. It's just time to get them finished, right? It's kind of the whole point of the show, after all. Cool, there we go. Right, that's enough priming. Oh, hello, fell over. Just a bit of water. Just going to purge that out. Got my little purge tank. Here it goes. This is when my little blockage showed up earlier on, and I was just using clear water. It just sprayed everywhere. So I'm just going to put my hand over the top. Okay, seems to be going through. Seems to be going through. Lovely. Kez says the Wolf Dragoons are typically black with red markings. They're from Clan Wolf and came to the Inner Sphere to spy on them as a mercenary unit. Cheeky. So how are you going to paint the black? Are you going to dry brush it in any particular way to kind of make the black stand out? Because painting black as a main colour can be really difficult, because obviously you can't go any darker than the darkest black for shadows, etc. So you're dry brushing. People do grey, some people do white, very rarely, but some people also do blue. Or are you going to paint the whole thing like a dark grey and then actually shade with black? That's another way of doing it, I suppose, isn't it? Which way are you going to do it? That's my neat cleaner. Where's my water? Yeah, got a bit of backflow going on there. See those bubbles coming up? There's just something in the way. I have been looking at getting a new needle set, which will see a new gasket, new nozzle and a new needle. So hopefully, if I was to do that, it would stop any of the build-up that gets on inside my airbrush. A little twist of the nozzle often sort of loosens it up, and it's starting to flow now. Look, there we go. Lovely. I'm just going to give the inside of the hopper a bit of a wipe down. It's just water going away in there. Kez says, I'm thinking of starting with a grey dry brush black and then dry brush light grey. Yeah, that might work. Dry brush highlight with the light grey. Yeah, I agree with Leslie. I think that'll look really cool. And if you get your own little process, you kind of you improve on it as you go, right? By the end of doing your first 6, your next 6 will be even better. So then you want to go back to your first 6 and start again, right? That is the problem with it. But like any artist thing, it's kind of important to you know, keep the things that aren't as good. As you get better, you naturally progress, and it's good to see that progression, isn't it? Any artist will say that, canvas artist or whatever, you know. Don't chuck away or, you know, do over all your old stuff or stuff that you consider bad. Right, let's pop that there. Okay. I'm just gonna. Do you know what? I'm gonna keep my water undone because I always use it. Always, always. Do you know what? A bit of wine. Cheers. Yes, I missed my mouth. Okay, the yellow that I'm using from the Vallejo Air range again. Vallejo is just the main sort of brand that I use. I just kind of bought the whole multi-set, which is why I'm always using it. You always see like a lot of prominent YouTubers and tutorials, etc. They you know, use so many different brands, etc. Scale 75 is one of the big ones that's out there. Duncan Rhodes has brought out his own one, which I think is called 2 Thin Coats, I think. But I just have these because, well, it's expensive to buy lots of paint, so I just bought a nice starter set, a big starter set. Anyway, not used this for a long time, so you know what's going to happen, right? You need to give it a good shake, give it a good mix inside the pot, and then it's time to go and give it a good waz on the Easy 8 Wazomatic. Doesn't get old. Give it a waz. Everyone, when they see me, you know, waz it. I don't know if it's appropriate, but it's funny. Just giving it a good old stir, good old shake. Anyway, there we go. Right, so lots of fleshy bits and stuff to do on them. Same as all the other ones. This one here is kind of like leaning on a bit of debris which hasn't been like stuck down to the base because of the position of the arm. That's fine. I'll fill under that when it comes to basing. No issue there at all. But otherwise, just going to give him a good old all-round covering of this yellow colour. I'm going to make sure that the primer is completely dry. So you guessed it, a bit of cold air. Oh, I am butterfingers today. A bit of cold air from the airbrush. Chance to blow dry, clean the worktop there. Not done a very good job on sanding that repair work down, but you'll learn. I don't think it's the best product for it. I really wanted it to be because it comes in a pourable pot or a squeezy pot, and it just sounds like the best thing to use. But actually, I think I probably would have been better up getting some milliput or green stuff, making a tiny thin sausage of it, and then just kind of filling the gap with a solid substance. Never mind, eh? Right, okay, I think that one there is actually a little bit drier than the other one. Maybe I'll come back to you. So Leslie says you could buy artiste acrylic paints. They're cheap as hell and you get loads of paint in each container. Yeah, I could do, but I think if they kind of thick, I have to actually thin them down. If they're for the canvas, they are, even if they are thin paints, they are still much thicker. For this, you have to have the consistency of around about milk, so you still end up putting quite a bit of thinner in it. If I was using the airbrush all the time, if I was like a professional painter, then I probably would be like trying to work out the best method for me. But you know me, I'm not actually that good, so I'll just stick with these ones. And as these probably run down, I might start replacing with other products like what you're suggesting there, or other manufacturers and things, or just other styles. This was just going to get me started. But yes, that brand Artiste, you see them around. They are very, very affordable and really strong pigment as well. Really, really strong pigment. Right, so I'm not going to put any thinner in this at all because if I remember right, this one actually goes on really, really thin, and yellow is a really weak pigment. Stronger than it used to be, but is still not the strongest kid in school. So I I'm just going to put it in there neat and just see how it goes. If it becomes a problem, then I'll add something to it. You can see the colour of my bench getting darker yellow there. Wonderful. Okay, so here we go. And I'm keeping it really, really light because I don't want to build up too heavy. So I'm doing really quick pulses. I'm just trying to make sure that I pass in every direction thoroughly. I don't want any kind of undercrofts or anything kind of missed out. I don't necessarily need to hit the areas where there's going to be carapace, but if I do, it's not a problem. That's why I do the yellow first. The yellow features more over the whole creature, but obviously the yellow is brighter than the greys and blacks and stuff that will be going on. So yeah. I have watched many professionals on YouTube talk about how to get their first layer on. I seem to be going a bit heavier than what they do, but they say like get a really, really thin layer on, let it air dry, and then get another coat on. So I'm trying to get this, yeah, blocking already in the airbrush, crazy. I'm just going to twist it, the nozzle there. That seems to get everything shifting. No, I might actually have to put some thinner in there. Bit of a shame. Back to my old shenanigans of issues with the airbrush. Oh, there we go. The blockage left. Excellent. So what was I saying? Yes, making sure that I'm getting good, so a good thin layer. Ah, no, it's really blocking up. Okay, you called it. Thinner it is. What have I done with my thinner? Here it is. Put in a couple of drops. It might be there's a bit of primer built up inside. Might not be the yellow at all. But if it's got to work its way around something, then I'll thin it down. It's just easier, isn't it? Sorry, we're getting like a yellow explosion everywhere. What I was trying to say with those, the sort of the light passes, is you get this really, really thin, and it just looks like when it goes on, it almost dries instantly. It looks like dust. Get that first layer on, give it a blast of cold air for 30 seconds, let it actually dry, and then go over with another slightly thicker coat, and that seems to be the sort of best method of getting a really good sort of thin but strong layer down initially. Right. Behave yourself. It's really fighting with me. Oh no. What a mess. Now I've got a blockage. That's crazy. You can see it where I've had to untwist the nozzle. There's a yellow line there. See it all seeping out. Messy. Okay, well there's only one thing for it, isn't there? Clean up, start again. So what I'll do is I'll pour all of that out of the hopper. There's no point in working now, mate. Shouldn't take me very long to give it a clean. I only cleaned it out fairly recently. Like within the last sort of half an hour, maybe an hour. Jeff says, "Hey Stav, how did your tank game go then?" He'll tell you all about it in a minute and how he lost. Because I know how it went, because he played against me. What a game. What a game. It was great. Leslie says, that's a good point, but if your method works for you, then do it. Absolutely. And yes, you're good at airbrushing, buddy. Oh, thanks. think my airbrush is just it's just got like damage inside it and stuff, so it just doesn't. It's really quick to block up. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to take the airline off of it. We'll just strip it down, nice and quick. These things happen, part of the process. Okay. Okay. Just going to flood it out with a bit of water. It is heavily stained with paint, but that's not a problem really. All I'm trying to do is see if there's any kind of rubbish or debris, and it only has to be the tiniest piece of old paint flake, and it will just block the whole thing. Because you're working on such a small scale with an airbrush, it's yeah, it's just easy. I've got loads and loads of earbud cleaner things. I always buy the wooden ones. They're just as affordable. You can find them in most shops. If you're going to be using them, use the wood ones, man, because they're disposable. You don't want to be using the plastic things. I don't even know if they're legal anymore. But yeah, if you find the plastic ones, boycott them, right? There's no need for it. Don't do plastic, especially on the scale that, you know, that we potentially could be doing it on. Save the turtles, man. So literally just trying to absorb everything that's in there now. It could be anything from a tiny piece of debris that's kind of loose inside the screw thread on the inside in here. It could be in the paint chamber, which is effectively just inside here, this area. In the bottom of the hopper. Or it could be actually inside where the mechanism sits. So what I just do is just give it a bit of a push in there. You see those little black dots that are coming out? They're actually just not black. They're all the other colours that I've been using in the airbrush for ages. Just loosened up by this process. I thought I cleaned them out earlier, but clearly I didn't. So it could be that. What I need to do is get in there quickly, in the back of there, with a little screwdriver, and release the gasket. The gasket is what stops the paint flowing back into the air, but it's where the air comes up in. So pop that out, little tiny brass screw, which this is one of the damaged areas that I was talking about. This is a brass screw, so it's quite soft. Don't know if it's quite easy to see here, but I over tightened them and I didn't quite have a screwdriver fit in properly. It was a smaller screwdriver, so when I twisted it, it became slightly gnarled. So in here I get quite a bit of build up. I use some airbrush cleaning brushes, some little ones here, and all I'm going to do is just going to stick it in the end and give it a twist, and hopefully that should just pick up any of the loose stuff that's in there. I can see that there's quite a bit of detritus in there actually. Pushes out the gasket ring, don't lose it. You get that only with a needle, and a needle gasket set with a nozzle will cost you over 40 quid. Probably around about $50 in the US. So yeah, don't, if you're going to take it apart, do it in an area where that if you're going to drop things, whatever, that you'll be able to recover any of those bits and pieces. I've actually been talking to a few members of the community recently on private chats over on Discord and things like that, talking about how to get the best out of your airbrush, and you know, people picking them up for the first time, just asking me for a few tips. I'm not a pro, I always say it, I'm not, but I have learned quite a few things over the last few years that I might be able to help you out with. So if you've got any questions, give us a shout. Cool, so I've cleaned the gasket screw. Now the actual gasket itself is just a little plastic O-ring. It's stained with paint, but it's actually quite clean. If it needs any sort of help with scrubbing, then airbrush cleaner, or yeah, airbrush cleaner. I've got a big bottle of it down here somewhere, but I decant it into little bottles, just easier to use. Sometimes water is just enough. Now I've got a clear passageway all the way through there. My brushes won't fit through there, so I've got some wire ones here. These can be a bit scratchy and a bit diggy on the ends. Diggy, that's the right word. So don't force it. This is where I think I've added the extra bit of damage over time, just learning the hard way, finding one that fits. Make sure it gets lined up in there properly. Any scratches in the metal? Yeah, see, I don't want to force him now, he's getting a bit stuck. Any scratches in the metal, albeit microscopic, will be somewhere where paint can build up, and if paint builds up, it will dry and it snowballs. what I mean by snowballing is that more paint will adhere to it because it's a dry surface for paint to dry on. When paint that is wet hits a dry surface, it starts to dry and it gets out of hand quite quickly, and that's how you get a blockage. So what I'm going to do, I've just kind of pushed it through, freed up any kind of loose stuff that might have been in there. Have a little check inside the paint chamber. There it is, right there. I see it. I've got a little pokey stabby tool, which is for airbrush cleaning. It's literally like a little spike, which means I can sort of move dry bits around. There it is. That massive piece there. Looks like it's got yellow on it because I've just been using yellow paint in there. I thought I cleaned that out properly earlier on. Clearly I didn't, and it was just blowing around in there. Could have been blocking up anywhere in there. Bits could have been coming off of it. And then, you know, going further down inside the paint chamber. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to push this back through. I could feel the resistance of it, and then all of a sudden it just kind of gave and I knew something went. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold that in there, and what I do is I just put a little bit of neat cleaner on the wire, and it just kind of runs down. Just a couple of drops is enough. And just up and down, up and down. And because the wire is like twisted wire, it kind of just sort of helps agitate anything that's stuck in there. Tap out anything. Should be nice and clear. I have learned that sometimes when you're looking through the airbrush flow line, that sometimes after giving a bit of a clear you can't see the light, but that's just because there's liquid and they're blocking it. I can now see it, and if you can, there's a little light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, you can. Brilliant. So we know that at least the passage is mostly clear. Having a look for any more loose stuff. Yep, there is some in there. Just going to get that with the end of me cleaning bud. Now what I should be doing is soaking it in water or cleaning alcohol, like 95% cleaning alcohol. I love that stuff. You can pick it up by the litre on Amazon. It's perfectly safe to use as long as you're being responsible. Stick it in an ultrasonic cleaner, which mine's just off to the side. I don't think my sonic cleaner is actually a very good one. It's a very cheap one, so maybe it's a better purchase for me to buy a better one. Okay, excellent. Right, so now got to clear all this sort of stuff out again. Not a problem. Let's give that a bit of a wipe out of the tissue. I also find cotton buds, like just like the cotton balls, they're really good for cleaning airbrushes too, especially for cleaning big, easy, clean parts like this. Wonderful. That's clean. Hopefully that's clean. Just going to give that a bit of a rinse over with a brush and some water. Hopefully nothing's in that nozzle. What a messy start, eh? It happens though, and you just got to be ready to deal with it. We have got a bit of a clog there, so I'm just going to take, that's the nozzle, and I can see that the paint's drying on the end there. So that's what's happening on the inside, and that's enough to block it. Where's my little end? Got it, quarter of the way through the show already. I can see the guys talking about, oh, what a tanker gave me the other day. Staff says it was going well until my heavy armour forgot it was there. Could not say the Tiger went to a single shot. What shot it with the SU-100? Well, if anything's going to take out a Tiger, an SU-100 is the bad boy to do it. I played Brits and Americans in a combined force, allied with the Russians, or the Soviets really, against two people including Stafford, who played the Germans. We outnumbered them 2-1, and I thought for a very long time it was going to be devastation for us, but I managed to breach the defences, managed to kind of get a little strike through, breakthrough, that's the word, and yeah, it all worked out in the end, for me. Right, I think that nozzle's clear. There's quite a bit of effort to clean inside there. I've been cleaning that all afternoon. Pop those bits together there. I'm going to give the needle a bit of a clean down. I give it a really good clean anyway, so I'm hoping just a quick wipe over with a tissue will be enough. I'm trying to be very careful at the point, because if I bend that, it's all over. Any kind of build up right on the end there. Really important to make sure that I clean it up. Excellent, it was just paint. Wonderful. Okay, so trigger in first. That sits in the air mechanism inside. Nice and carefully. backload in the needle so that I don't run the risk of bending the tip. You can see there, actually I do need to clean that down a bit more, so I will do in a second. Be a bit easier when I put this bit in. So this is sort of the retaining section for the needle. Screw that in the back. Force the needle back like that. And then I can actually lock it in place and hold it a bit easier. So what I'll do is I'll drop a little bit of neat cleaner just on the end of the needle there, and I'll just use, I know it looks like it's a dirty cotton bud, but actually it's a fresh one with just a little bit of colour on the end of it. And I'm just trying to get a bit of hardened paint off the end. I can see right there, and I'm fairly confident that as an old and abused needle, if I was looking at it under a microscope, it'll be really gnarly. So yeah, it's definitely time to get a new needle. If the paint's clinging to it on the end, then you know there's a lot of like bad surfaces on it, right? Bad surfaces, man. Okay, pull the needle back inside so I don't bend it when I put the nozzle back in. Oh, do you know what I haven't done? I haven't put the gasket in. Take it apart. That would have been fun. Honestly, this is an episode of Watch Danny Make Mistakes. So, put the gasket in the little screw in the back there. A little trick to get it in nicely, because you have to load it in all the way through. Put it on backwards on the end of the needle. And load the needle in. And then feed it all the way. Gravity drop, do the rest. Screw it in place. Don't over crank it, but make sure that it's tight. There we go. Cool. Now let's start again. Trigger. Make sure that the trigger is in properly. Front load, but backwards the needle. I like to pull him in all the way so that he doesn't get too damaged or damaged at all. Locking screw. Now pull that one the way back. There it goes. Now I can put the nozzle on. Screw that on nice and tight, and then push the needle through, and then hopefully. Right, if this doesn't work, it's going to be a bit of a boring show, isn't it? Here we go. Air is flowing freely, that is good. Let's stick a bit of neat cleaner through there. I should clean out all the old paint bits. And still not wanting to flow properly, that means that there's something dry in the nozzle. Having some real problems with it today, aren't we? It's almost certainly the nozzle that has been the problem. I think it has just cleared. I'm going to give it a clean. Could be the needle that's not helping either. I hope that your projects this evening, if you're working on anything, are going better than what is happening with me this evening. So this is just the little sort of nozzle protector, if you will. I'm going to get a brush in there. Let's give that a bit of a twizzle. Make sure there's nothing really blocking it. But to be fair, it's quite hard for that to be a problem because the hole at the end is quite large. The nozzle itself sticks through. Just going to dry my fingertips off there. Kes says, in some ways it's really nice to see mistakes. So many videos on YouTube show painting models and it's so perfect. It gives a false impression of what it's really like to paint. Yeah, there is that. It's one of the reasons why I've always wanted to stay with going live rather than do recorded shows. Thanks for that. That makes me not so anxious on the screen. It would be nice if I could get it to work. But yes, you're right. It is nice to see it. You know, mistakes being made. Yeah, I'm only amateur, I'm here with you guys, painting away. Yeah, and this is one of the things that, if I was sort of painting by myself without you guys, it'd be very easy for me to lose momentum and motivation, and then, you know, everything kind of gets put away, and I could go do some painting now. Oh, but yeah, the last time was, you know, the airbrush kind of all clogged up, and so I've got to go, you know, make sure that works, and if it doesn't work, then it'll just be like, oh, you get kind of bogged down, right? So you've kind of got to force yourself a little bit, haven't you? And that's okay. Just got to work through it. It's just nice to have the company, which is what this show is all about. Leslie's just saying, just literally just chilling, watching you. I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. I think Kez has just dropped a picture on Facebook, so if you are working on anything this evening and you want to kind of show it off a little bit, I don't know how you guys can actually post to the mentions tab anymore. I see other pages with their mentions tab. The community are able to put their photos on there, so I don't know what it is that's going on with the Easy 8 Facebook page, but you can just drop your photos in as a comment to the schedule for tonight's show. So just find the show, so go to Facebook, find Easy 8, where it says it's got a link to tonight's show. Just drop it in the comment section down there, and I can see everything. You can see everything. Leslie's giving me some fingers there. Excellent. Maybe next time I'll word that better. Here's the nozzle. I think there's a little blockage in there. It's such a fine point, just enough for the needle tip to get through. So what I'm going to do is just going to pop this in the back there like that. Give it a bit of a clean. Obviously I can't go all the way in. I'm just going to dip a little bit of water on the end of it. I gave this a really good clean with cleaner earlier on. I spent about half an hour doing it, so it might just be that's like the last little bit. I can see there's a little bit of paint when they come out there. Look. You might see there's like the tiniest, driest piece of debris or something inside that's just blocking it, because I gave it such a good cleaning. Could have just loosened off stuff that I didn't know was in there. And there's only so much that you can see. I did leave it actually soaking a little pot. I had a little bit of cleaner in there. That's just a bit of airbrush cleaner. But you know, later on I'll stick it in for ages on the ultrasonic cleaner. It's just a little bath of water, or alcohol if you want to put it in alcohol as well. But it just gives like little sonic pulses, and it just kind of breaks everything up. Really good for cleaning jewellery and airbrushes. Staff says, I'm so desperate not to paint tracks, I'm tidying my Gaslands project box. Yeah man, tracks are a ball ache. Oh. Can you see all that debris that's just come out of the needle just because I pushed the needle through the nozzle? I don't know if you can see that on there. Can you see all those little lumps coming off? That's what's causing my blockages. Crazy. When you get an airbrush, it is a process. If you are looking into buying one, understand that there's going to be... I've dropped the nozzle on the chair, I found it. There are going to be things on the way, big learning curves. Don't let it get you down. Don't damage your needle, which is, I think this is what it's all come from. Maybe a few scratches in the inside, but my needle is clearly needing to be replaced. I've got a replacement in a shopping basket. I just need to go ahead and push buy. Clearly that seems to be flowing cleaner now. I'm happy with that. Pop it all together. Okay, one last little bit of cleaner through there, and I'm just going to fire it over the board here. Hooray. Okay, I need a bit of water through there now because obviously I've got cleaner in there. Oh, that was a bit of a start, wasn't it? Right, shall I put thinner in with the paint? Shall I? I'm not going to, but I'm going to put in less paint this time. Let's clear my desk up now with all the cleaning stuff. Compressor going crazy in the background. Right, I'm just going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4 drops for now. Come back to you in a minute. It's working. Brilliant. Okay, we can now resume normal service. I'm so sorry. So what I was saying, really thin initial passes almost to the point where it looks like nothing is going on. I'm going on a bit heavy now because I think I'm a little bit like sort of wound up. But like really, really light passes to the point where you're thinking, did anything even go on there then? Let that dry, and you can sort of help it dry by giving it some cold air for 30 seconds at least with the airbrush, because you can just kind of just push the thing down, it just gives you air, yeah. So just like that. Just trying to get up on the inside there is very difficult. I'm just trying to make sure that I hit every surface. Oh, I went very heavy there. See how different that is? So how stark it is around his face, just around this area here, when it is compared to like the underside of that arm. It's quite a difference. Some comments going in. Nasty blockages can go bye-bye. Yeah, man. It happens, right? Get mechs, no tracks or tyres. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff says the same. Stop buying tanks, get some armoured cars. Just tyres then. I have tyres to paint on my gasline cars. I don't need to buy anything else until some of these are finished. Yeah. Yeah, I was the same when I started Easy 8. And then people like Leslie just gave me stuff. And I was like, right, okay, I can handle this. This is a generous donation. I will work my way through this. I will be neat, tidy, methodical. And then someone gave me a big box of Adeptus Mechanicus. I'm like, okay, it's just my life now. Thank you so much for the kind donations. You have really given me projects that will always be on Easy 8. I'll never run out of things to do. It's a nice dark yellow going on there now. It's a beautiful colour. I really like it. It is my favourite colour. Not the reason why I decided to do them yellow. That was just because I saw like a design online once. I was like, oh, that'll look good. I've told you before, I'm sure. But for all you new subscribers out there, I saw a picture of a Cutenids drawing. It's only just on like Wikipedia, I'm sure it was, or 1D4chan or something, in whatever form it used to exist in compared to now. And yeah, it's just like a little cute picture of a Tyranid. There's a couple of them, and I was like, do you know what, that colour scheme really works. And I was talking to my dad, Jeff, in the live chat there. I was like, I think this could work as a colour scheme. He's like, yeah, it will. So I did it, and I was right. Okay, I'm out of paint there. That at least works better, right? Airbrush is working better. So I'm going to put him to the side, let him dry naturally. Going to put some more paint in here. But you know what? I'm going to have some wine after that one. Got a cup of tea waiting for you on the side there. That's going to be cold. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's call it about that, shall we? Make sure that it's not drying in the airbrush, which is always good to make sure that it doesn't sit for too long, because anything that's sat inside the paint chamber will dry, which is why it's kind of good to not do continuous streams, although that can have its advantages, but to do like lots of like repetitive little pulses helps blow the paint out of the airbrush with like quick, like it's almost like the difference between good or like that. It will help blow out any kind of the paint that's in danger of drying. See, I'm doing what now is a continuous stream. What that's allowing me to do is make sure that I'm being consistent in the amount, because I don't have to like constantly keep on finding that level that I'm achieving. So that's the advantage here. I'm getting this really, really thin layer on, barely going on at all, but it's getting a really, really fine first coat, and that's almost dry already. And what I can do now is just give it a quick pulse, just make sure there's nothing drying inside. Drop the Tyranid Guard, Hive Guard even. See that colour building up now? Yeah, get a bit of a blockage there. So back to pulses. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the end of the nozzle protector off. That will allow me unfettered access to the needle tip. It can be a bit dangerous. I am in danger of kind of like damaging the needle tip, but what I can do, I can see there's a skin sort of just appearing around the outside of the nozzle. And what I can do is I can just get this cotton bud just on the edge of it, and I can just help rub away any of the drying stuff that's there. There we go. And now I can actually use it like this. There are different nozzle types that have different heads on. This is a kind of a beginner one, so it's got like a really sort of nozzle head that's designed to be really easy to protect the needle tip. Others allow you to get into them very easily, but they're a little bit easier to damage that needle. I'm a little bit better now at using an airbrush, so you know, I know the sort of dangers and the risks. If I was a bit too clumsy or heavy-handed with it, I could damage it. So when I get my next needle set, it has got like a slightly more advanced protector. Use a little brush there just to scrub away at the sides. There we go, that's a bit better. Much better. I said last week I really like the weapons on these particular creatures. Not all creatures get access to the guns that these guys have got. I just think they look, even though they have that sort of design style that looks like, you know, mechanical weapons, which I don't like mechanics on these creatures. I just think that these particular ones, it suits them. Sorry that I'm not engaging in the live chat so much. Normally I'm like on top of every single comment, but my concentration got kind of taken away there, so I'm going to try and get back on track. No more tanks, says Dave. You need more tank staff. It's your fault for being a cool dude. Stop it. That's Camp Danny for you. Cool, and now I'm just trying to make sure that I've got from every angle. It's quite easy to miss things sometimes, and you'll find it like later on when you're painting some of the detail, and then you'll notice it and it'll be like really obvious. You're like, how did I miss that? And now I can't help but see it. And it's always obviously behind things. Right, I'm just going to go back to the first one again, which is almost dry. And I'm just going to make sure that I've got good coverage on all the bold bits now. Bits that are really obvious, making sure I've just got good opacity to that yellow. Making sure I haven't missed anything, which I have. Excellent. Cool. I need a break. Right. Just, oh, I've lost my mouse. Where is it? There it is. Cool. What's Stafford saying? Yay, got you on the computer. Stupid Windows update. Man, it happens. These things, they just come out of nowhere and ruin your whole evening, right? I'm so sorry about this very unprofessional first half of the show. But yeah, sometimes these things happen. And you know what? There's a clog, I'll deal with it at some point. And like Kes says, sometimes it's good to see these things happen on a show so that you get, you know, a true sort of you know, idea of what it's actually like to use an airbrush. Sometimes it is tricky. Cool, right, I think I managed to get all of that rubbish out of there. I'm gonna just seal up the yellow. I don't think I need that right now. I think I'm done on yellow. Very excited to be moving into the next part. I'm going to do a little bit of staining with the airbrush, and it's not something I've done before. Certainly not in the style that I'm going to be doing it. I've not done it on my Tyranids. I'm going to be using a little bit of Seraphim Sepia to... You'll see. Yeah, I'm going to stain around the edges of the armour, and I think it will look really, really good. And then I'm going to brush stain as well. I'm going to use a combination of the two, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Making sure that my airbrush is nicely purged. Don't know why I'm doing it all over my map, but it will dry before we come back. I'm going to pop that there. I think I'm going to go chuck my cup of tea away and get myself another wine. I think it's going to be one of those evenings. Leslie says he's looking pretty killer. Does it he, she get a name? With all my Tyranids, they do need names, not all the little ones because that's just too many. These guys, I think, as the show goes on, they'll probably get some names. They could be male or female or either or. It doesn't really matter, I don't think, because they're asexual, right? It doesn't really matter. Anyway, look, I'm going to go for a quick break, and I'm going to go and clean my hands because I'm covered in yellow. Going to get myself a fresh drink. So if you want to get yourselves away for a minute, go refocus your eyes, stretch your legs, get yourself a fresh beverage. That's absolutely fine. Now's the next time to do it. For the next 10 minutes, whatever it is that you do for the last time this year, you should definitely go and change your paint water. I certainly do. Look at that, that was clean a minute ago. See you in 10. Cheers. Welcome back. I had a bit of a clean-up during the intermission there. Make sure that the airbrush was clean and is working. It is. That's a great thing to know, because I can't handle this just being the case all night. I went and got myself a fresh glass of wine because I felt that I needed it. So cheers. Happy New Year to you. Some comments going in while we were away. Leslie and some of the guys there talk about naming these characters that I'm painting today. Betty and Davis, because Betty Davis, I don't know, I'm just coming up with ideas. Betty works for me. Anyway, I was talking about putting Seraphim Sepia in the airbrush to create, it'll be a very, very watery sort of shade. I just give it a quick test before, kind of got rolling again, to avoid any problems appearing on it. I'm glad I did, because the idea I had wasn't really working, which is a bit of a shame, but it's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you straight over to the workbench to show you exactly what it is that I was thinking about. Before I do though, if you are new here and you're just kind of tuning in, because we've got loads of new subscribers lately, Easy 8 isn't a tutorial or anything like that at all. It's just literally a place for you guys to kind of come along and chill out, paint your minis at the same time with me, get things wrong like I am as well, talk about your successes and share your failures just as much, because we might be able to help you through it. Or maybe you just like kind of hanging out with these guys over there in the live chat. They're a bit crazy, this bunch. But if you do like what we do consider, liking, following, sharing and subscribing. Every little bit really does help me make this community all the much better. So I don't know if that's actually good English. All the much better. You know what I mean. Please subscribe. It would be really great if you would, or at least share the word of Easy 8. Fantastic. Anyway, let's get back to what it is that we're talking about. We're going to go to the workbench. Here we are. A little bit messy over here at the moment. So this is the one I've just been working on. I'm going to drop him all over the place. I was using a little bit of Seraphim Sepia. This is the colour that I'm going to wash all over them, but I was just trying to use it in the airbrush to try and get, if I can point with a nice fine brush, around the edges of the armour plates. So these armour plates here, the yellow and the white is showing up a bit too much there under the lights, where it transitions from armour to flesh, I was just going to kind of have a heavier concentration of that wash colour around the yellow here, to make it look like that it doesn't just go from yellow to grey. So it wasn't working. I was looking at some of the browns that I've got here, thinking I could airbrush a transparent layer of paint in there, but I think that's too much. It's definitely something that I'm going to have to try and work on as I get better at airbrushing. I have put these washes through the airbrush before, but I think it was just too fine to build up really what it was that I was trying to do. I can see a little bit of stain there, but it was just so watery that it was just kind of blowing around everywhere, and the effect was too little. So yeah, you can see another bit in here that I was doing in there. It wasn't really that good. So I'm just going to do it by brush and see how that works. If I feel that it doesn't work as well by brush when it comes to do the next set of miniatures, I will try to work on, always trying to improve, but I'll try and work on my sort of application of Citadel wash through the airbrush. So that's what I was thinking basically. Anyway, let's move on to Seraphim Sepia. I was using like a little pipette dropper there to get it into the airbrush as well, but whatever. I cleaned my water out as well, you'd be happy to know, because it needed it. Bit of a mess over here at the moment. I'm going to move away from the airbrush and the airbrush sheet. Don't need that right now. Okay, so Seraphim Sepia, one of my favourite washes. Really nice warm colour. Got a bit of a repair gel in my brush there, so I just need to kind of wash that out, just being gentle with that. There we go, supple it up, supple it up. That just makes sure that when I'm using my brushes, that my brush tips have a really nice fine point on them. And last week after the show, I was sat on Discord talking to Krista Wolf for ages and ages about cool art related things. And I sat there and cleaned out very thoroughly all my brushes and gave them a good repair. Hi Chris, if you're watching. Maybe Chris will be watching later on. They do like to come in later. Okay, so literally I'm just going to be applying the Seraphim Sepia heavier around the carapace. I'm going to be washing the whole thing over it. I just wanted to see if I started from the carapace and worked my way around, if it works better. I don't know. I might need to work on a bigger brush perhaps. Yeah, I'm going to go to a bigger brush. Let's go to my big 2 brush. This one also has repair gel in it. It's a crispy one, that one. Did give them a really good clean. There we go, it does dissolve. There we go, that's better. Probably put a bit too much gel in it, that's all. Kept a good point on it though. Okay, so I don't want this wash to be building up too much. I'm actually tempted to put a bit of medium with it to sort of spread it out and dilute it a little bit, but by adding medium rather than water it will keep its surface tension and maintain the filter that it is. But I'm just going to see how it goes for now. I'm just going to be applying it on straight from the pot. You can see how it's starting to tame that yellow down. If I was to dilute it and put it on, it might stop it from being tamed down too far. I do come in with a light dry brush later on and just kind of bring the yellow back out again, because it will get really dull in some places. It's very easy and very tempting to kind of go too far with too quickly with this kind of wash process and just sort of do a sludge. And while that worked in my early days of doing Tyranids, it's something that I kind of want to avoid nowadays, really, because I'm better than that and I've got much more control over it. If you're trying to do a massive horde though, a sludge wash is perfectly acceptable. So again, you know, time and the place for it all, right? What I'm just going to bring a tissue over here so that if I need to, I can just clean my brush out nice and quickly to absorb big pools of this colour. I have tried using oranges around the outsides of carapace before, and it didn't look right. So this, you know, using Seraphim Sepia, just heavier around the outsides of those areas, is a bit of a test, really. What I'm doing now is I'm coming in with a bit of water on my brush and just cleaning up some of those flatter surfaces, just because I don't want it being too far away from the original yellow. I kind of want it to sit more in the creases, really. There we are, it's quite nice like that. Tricky just to get in behind there. There will be some places where I do have to almost go in sludge washing, like now. It's just because it's just so difficult to get in there. So I just hit it the best I can, and then I go in and neaten it up. Like that. That's fine. I'll just get this leg here. Guys in the live chat there talking about Kung Pao. The name Betty comes from Kung Pao. Apparently, it's been a long time since I've seen the film. I think I might be thinking about Kung Fu Hustle, actually. So you can see all those ribs all the way down. They look really good if I fill those with the sepia colour. But again, just trying to make sure that I'm not oversaturating. I don't want it to kind of like run free or get any build-ups or anything like that. It's a great show, worth watching when you can. Kung Pao is a film and not a series, right? Such a bright yellow. It's a lovely colour. Do you know what? It might be that the airbrush idea works well afterwards, because I've already established this brown colour, really tamed down that yellow already. It might be that afterwards hitting it with the airbrush is the way forwards. I'll give it a quick try. But I'm also not gonna like flog a dead horse. You know, if the idea's not gonna work, then it's not gonna work. You know. You can certainly see the orange better, but at the time when I was doing that, it was on a much larger model. It was on the Trigon, and the orange that I was using was an opaque colour rather than it being a wash, so it was much easier to kind of get that colour on. Unfortunately, the orange just didn't work with the yellow, and then of course when I went over with the brown washes at the end, it just, yeah, it looked different. It didn't look like the picture I had in my head at the time. Now I've got to do the gun as well, because the gun is the same sort of creature, well, it's its own creature, but it will have the same coloration, the same patterns and things. Just going around, just making sure that I'm mopping up any big blobs with a nice damp brush. This stuff works very different than the contrast paints, where if you touch contrast paint once it's gone on the model, you're probably going to ruin it. So you should leave contrast paint alone. But especially if you've watered down the washes, or you know, they are called washes or shades, sorry, then you've got quite a lot of time with them. So they will start to coffee stain, so do be careful. But you can get to them quite quickly. You've got a lot of working time with it. You can go in with a nice wet brush, move things around, agitate them, mop it up, whatever. One of the reasons why I'm not a massive fan of the contrast paints is you just don't get that much time to work with it. You can add contrast mediums to sort of lengthen that time, but I think I can do better with washes, or shades as GW like to call them. We taught it wrong for laughs. Ah, yes, yeah. Do you know what? As soon as you said that, I know the exact film you're talking about. Yeah, it's the one where they made an entirely different script, isn't it? And then dubbed over the top to make it look like one of the old bad dubbing movies. Yeah, yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Wind blow right. Yet again with the squeaky shoes. Quite large surfaces of yellow to do on this creature compared to all those little Tyranids that I was doing recently. So I am kind of slapping the stuff on almost in the same way that I would with a sludge wash, but I'm being a little bit careful than I would do with a sludge when I apply it, and then I'm making sure that I go straight back with a wet brush afterwards, a clean wet brush, just to make sure that any areas that are a little too heavy I can kind of tidy them up. Spending some time making sure that it looks nice and neat. No need to rush it. The only need that I can think of is that, you know, there's a sense of progression on the show for you, but I'm not going to rush it just for you guys. Sorry. Betty from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. Yep, that's going back some now. Showing your age there, Dad, I'm afraid. What was the actor's name? Can't remember. The character was called Frank, wasn't he? I can't remember the actor. Oh, 10 easy 8 points if you... 8 easy points? If you get the answer to that. I also like the random mottling effect that you get, where it kind of like stretches out thinner or thicker on the surfaces sometimes. You get some really nice effects, natural effects that you wouldn't normally be able to achieve so easily unless you're like a super duper hardcore professional. You get those with the washes. Sometimes they're worth a lot, you know, in terms of the aesthetic value. It's just making sure that I'm getting it right in the back there. Quite difficult to reach in some places. And again, making sure that the whole place is being captured. I am going to give it a try, you know, with the airbrush again. But I will make sure that he's nice and dry. It's looking good though. I really like that. I'll do a little comparison in a minute, side by side between the two yellows, so you can see what a difference this makes as a filter. Bit of a coffee stain just there, which is a bit of a shame. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a bit of Seraphim. I'm just going to wet the brush a little bit, just a bit of water, just a tiny amount. I'm just going to see if I can hide that just by kind of covering over it and just... We're going to track backwards and forwards, just in one direction over this whole tail, pick up whatever stains already on there, and just get rid of those blobs and build-ups. Now it's just because I was being a bit precious earlier. There we go. Try that brush off, and then get a bit of fresh Seraphim, and just go back over. Some streaks on there that could dry a bit weird. Been painting off the edge of the screen there for such a long time, do apologise. Michael Crawford, there you go, Dave. You can have yourself 8 easy points. I've just made that up, but you can have them. Save them up at the end of the year, you can get a prize if you've got enough. Like a boat. Or something. Excellent, okay, cool. Let's just pop him down for a second. Michael Crawford, yeah, it was bugging me, I couldn't think of it. Right. Airbrush, a little bit of air from the airbrush from a distance so I don't agitate or move any of the paint that's kind of on there already. It's just cold air. It's looking really good. It's going to be a really nice piece when he's done. They always do look really, really unfinished and quite scrappy at this point because of all that white and the oversprays and whatever. So there's one with all that sort of shade staining on him. And here's the one that's not had any of that done. You can see the difference here already, can't you? So it's starting to look a little bit orangey. That's just a bit of a play from the lights, but that's kind of what I mean by a warm colour when I say a warm brown. If I was to use Agrax Earthshade, it'd be much darker and it's much of a cooler colour, and that orangey sort of appearance tends to disappear. But I find the Seraphim really enhances that. I'll do a really light dry brush over him later on, going back with the same yellow, trying not to build up too much, but just to try and revitalise maximise that brightness that you get from here, but while still having the detail that the wash is offered here. Really nice colour. Really happy with the way that goes. It's one of the few things about all my paint schemes that I'm really sort of generally chuffed with. Anyway, going to work my way over to this one over here. Looks like he's leaning. Oh, big gun though, see? Super cool models. Love them. Right, let's kind of wash this brush out. It's been sat in the water there for a bit too long. Got a bit of a curl on. Right, some wine. Okay, just going to give my surface a bit of a shake up there. I don't think that the pigment really settles in them, but it's always better safe than sorry. But I also like there to be like a little bit of paint just sitting on the inside of the lid. Makes it nice and easy to access, especially when you're under all the lights. No, Chris owes Dan a tank. No, Staff, yeah, you got it the wrong way. He still owes Chris a tank. No, Chris the Wolf owes me a tank, a real tank, and I want one. Yeah, Chris vehemently refuses. Naturally. Arguments on Discord have turned particularly aggressive, mostly from Chris's point. I'm just maintaining it. I want my tank. I can't remember why I deserve a tank. That argument's been long gone. But to answer your question, Dave, yeah, you can have a tank. 500,000 easy 8 points. How many have you got? What do you say? 8, 10 at best? You've got till tomorrow, mate. When it comes to the dry brushing, Kez, hopefully I'll get to use the lovely dry brushes that you've lent me. So Kez paid a little visit a little while ago and gave me some dry brushes. These are the sorts of dry brushes I've been talking about a little while ago. These aren't the ones from Artis Opus, which is the brand that I've been talking about. These are Army Painter versions of them. I believe that they work just as well. So I'll give them a little go. I've got all the extra paraphernalia that Kez has brought around with them because you weren't getting on with them so well and you wanted to give me the opportunity to have a go with them. So thank you very much for that. You can have them back after this little project, but it'll be really nice to have a go with a totally new type of brush. I've had a quick practice on some other bits and pieces. I see what you meant by the problems that you were talking about. It is very easy to go in with a paint that is too wet. The idea is that you actually don't use a completely dry paint, you don't rub it all off and then go in with dry bristles. You actually have to have a certain amount of moisture to your bristles, and that's the really difficult bit. It's just kind of learning where that point is really in terms of moist paint or dry paint. If you go on too dry, you end up with a really chalky build up, and it builds up a texture very quickly. It's very easy to spot, and it looks like dry brushing, and it looks like a cheat, when actually we can achieve much better results that look really realistic. But if you go in with too much moisture, which is very easy to do, then you just end up smearing paint all over the place and it looks awful. Oh, I'll just throw him down on the floor. Threw it on the ground. If you guys are working on any projects this evening, how are your projects going? I haven't asked that for a while. I've had an evening of some problems, and I've not been really focusing on the community so much today. Really sorry about that. But yeah, if you're working on any projects this evening, what are you doing and how is it going? Kez, how's the mechs going? Stafford, how's project tidy up the Gaslands project box? Jeff, how's the massive shush build that you're not allowed to talk about going? You can surely tell us how well it's going, right? Leslie, you working on something this evening, or did you say you were just chilling? Just vibing. Leslie says that I've got the Artis Opus dry brushes. They're very cool but very expensive. My set was over 50 quid. Yes, they are. But good brushes are very expensive. And, well, I spoke about the quality of brushes before. I do very much believe in quality. It has taken some getting used to, trying to get the most out of quality brushes to make them work for me. More than anything, they have longevity, so as long as I'm looking after them, it's easier to make them last longer. But you know, make sure they have the right sizes also goes a long way to making them work well for you. I've got a size 2 here. I bought this as a detail brush, but I've actually bought 2 sizes smaller, and I'm actually going to be buying a smaller one again soon. And there's even smaller beyond that too, which I think I'm also questioning getting. So, you know, initially I thought, oh, this brush will be a really good detail brush. Well, it is, but I do smaller details. I want to get better and better. Just pushing my game all the time, you know. So yeah, while those dry brushes are very expensive, once you get good at it, you'll have really good quality products behind you that you know you can rely on. And it is very easy to become a bit of a brand snob as well in anything, you know. In the outdoors, I work in the outdoors, and you know, obviously I do a lot of outdoorsy stuff that requires a lot of outdoorsy clothing, and it's very easy to kind of buy cheap, but sometimes you need expensive stuff because you're paying for that brand's reputation, and that reputation is often built on experience and time and quality. Not saying that, you know, every affordable brand doesn't have that. Sometimes you do just get, you know, great wins, great value. But sometimes, you know, when you're paying for that brand, you're not just paying for the label. You are in some cases, but you know, you're paying for the fact that that company has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, and it goes a long way sometimes. You know, you wouldn't see, you know, an old-fashioned sign painter using, you know, cheap £1 brushes for a pack of 5 from the thrift store, which they'd be using stuff that was, you know, handed down to them, you know, generations perhaps, you know, stuff that they've been looking after for years and years. It's exactly the same market, man. Got a bit of coffee staining down here, look, where it's been a bit too liberal. So again, just going to track down until it's all kind of mopped up. I suppose that staining, that coffee staining, is one of the things I'm really looking to avoid, because once it dries it looks really bad and it looks really cheap, and I think in terms of me trying to progress my skill, I think just spending that time and being a bit more careful with things like that is probably what I'm looking to achieve here. Do understand that I'm also slapping it in, so I'm trying to kind of meet that happy line in the middle. It's looking good though. Just some tricky angles to get in and around. Some more comments going in. Okay, it says mechs are now done. Brilliant, excellent. I would love an update photo. I noticed you did put one in there just earlier on. I would love to go and have a little look at that later. Les says Leslie. I just missed a consonant. I'm so sorry. Leslie. Not this evening, but I'm starting a Drakari army. Oh, very exciting. How did the Nurgle army go? Did you finish that, or did you just decide to start a new one? Something a fresh start on something. You've got to have multiple projects. You can't just have one, right? Rutherford team completed, says Stafford. Uh-oh, that means someone's going to be bringing guns and tanks and helicopters to a car race in Gaslands. Brilliant. Looking forward to seeing that so that I can destroy it. In a game, obviously, not just viciously out of spite. Oh, show us your models, stamp. That's kind of not where I was going with that. I'm not that kind of show. Although that would be a great side project though, wouldn't it? Jeff says, I'm on the vodka now. Best not mess with the salute project until tomorrow. yeah, you should probably leave that. I lost the ability to talk a couple of weeks ago just from having one vodka and coke, if you remember. So, yeah, probably best just to stay calm. I'm just doing some lovely stain work today. What's the worst that can happen with alcohol, huh? Huh? Excellent, that's looking really good. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to give that a clean out. I'm going to go back in now with the airbrush and just have another go at that thing on the other one that's kind of almost dry now, and just see if I can build up that colour around the edges of the carapace and see if it has a nice effect. Some comments going in. Staff says it's only 2 vehicles, but 1 is a tank. Okay, cool. It's not much of a team, is it? Leslie says they're the best dry brushes I've used, and you can do so many different stylings of dry brushing with those, from almost highlights to full surface area coverage. Yeah, I've not really had a massive go, but what I've seen from the pro who kind of shows off those brushes on the YouTube channel by Artist Opus, he is fantastic. I don't understand that he's got a lot more experience in it, but you know, you only get that experience by practicing, right? It's fantastic and fascinating what he can do. That maybe you can do, and I hope that I can do as well. Kez says, if coffee staining is what I think it is, I actually quite like that look on my mechs, but I did go a bit overboard with the mechs I just did. Yes, it is a really good method of getting some natural effects. I remember years and years ago, and Jeff, my dad, might be able to remember this, when I first started playing Warhammer 40,000, I got into Tyranids in 2nd edition, and I had the old metal Hive Tyrant model, and we were just kind of painting everything together as just like a father and son project, just kind of painting everything I had in just random colours. Every model was kind of different, or every group was different, and the Hive Tyrant model was like this kind of like sort of muted green, and we went over it with a wash, and then when it dried, you would never ever be able to achieve that patination that happened on those flat surfaces. It looked absolutely brilliant, and then we ended up trying to replicate it and ruined it. And every now and again I do get that effect. I'm like, oh, do I? Or I remember back, I'm like, do I play with it? Do I leave it? I don't know what to do. Most of the time I try to leave it, but if it builds up and it gets too heavy in some places, it can look like there was a big dollop of paint there, especially if it was a thick thing and it dries. It will actually it'll have like texture to it, so it would be like a raised dome surface, and it just looks awful. But if it's working for you, it's working for you. Leslie says, I don't think the Nurgle stuff will ever be finished. Dark Elder was the first army I started collecting as a kid, so really fancy the change of the army of awful people. Yeah, you got to have those multiple projects. I hope it goes well. Personally, I like coffee staining effects, but it is a personal taste sort of thing. Yeah, and it's quick, you know, it's really quick to do. Out of This World Models and Minis, hello, happy new year, congratulations on more subscribers. Thanks, John, nice to see you again over there in the States. I hope that you're keeping well and safe in the awful weather that is over there. Yeah, I've been hoping that you would come along today so that I could see you and wish you all well. Happy New Year to you, thank you very much. Yeah, 75 subscribers. How far we have come, huh? Now I think I'm just going to do that little bit of staining on the end there, because I don't know if I'm going to actually use that as a yellow piece. I might do that as like a fleshy colour later on, but something that I have learned is go with one colour at least at the beginning, so I don't have to like go back and do all this all over it later. So just going to hit that with some more Seraphim right now, just like that. Excellent, just like that. Tommy Cooper, just like that. That's my Cockney impression. Tommy Cooper was a Cockney, wasn't he? Not messing that up for any die-hard fans out there. Just like that. Yeah, I can ruin any accent, including the British ones. Gold Leather Duck is Mary Poppins. Right, okay. I'm going to come in with some air. That's all I'm really doing right now. Just trying to dry all of that stuff down. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get onto the dry brushing today, because even if there's just one tiny little bit of hidden watery paint or just water somewhere on this model, I'll pick that up on the dry brush and it will ruin everything. But there's a lot of yellow that I want to go back to. You can see on the legs down here, even though I've kept it nice and neat and tidy, it has gone quite heavily stained. That's fine. Got some nice mottling effects down here. A bit heavy on the tail, which I can reduce with some dry brushing, which is why I want to get in there, but I'll do that later. What I want to do now is just have another go at that staining effect with the airbrush again, because you never know. Pick up some seraphim in this pipette here, and I'm literally just going to put a couple of drops in there. There we are. I'm going to go back to the piece of paper just because I don't like spraying all over my worktop. Cool. And I'm going to start just down at the base of the tail here, where it's a little bit easier to get to. So I want a really, really fine needle head for this. So I'm just going to take off the needle guard again, just so I can kind of focus on and concentrate on what I'm doing, getting a bit closer. And I think I've just got to get a really, really long build up to it, because I need a really, really fine colour blast. And I can go heavier, but I'll get a wider effect on it. And I don't want it wide, I want it to be quite detailed, quite fine. So that means I've got to go in quite low. It's too easy to go too heavy. And unfortunately I don't think it offers much beyond what I've already got. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to neaten up that tail with what I've got in there. Just like that. Just like that. And then I'll just purge the tank. That's okay, that's fine. That's a shame. Maybe there is another colour that will work. Maybe it is an orange, maybe it is a brown, maybe it's a fleshy colour. I don't know what it is yet, I haven't found it. Like a transition colour from carapace to flesh, or the other way around. Maybe I just need a slightly thicker paint. Maybe I've got like a contrast paint. I've got snakebite leather, it's definitely not the colour that I want. Or is it? Who knows? Do you know what? I'm going to give it a good old shake and just see what happens. Good old shake, good old shake. You know what's happening, Stafford? Here it comes. Easy 8. Wazomatic. This is what you really, it's like contrast paints and enamel weathering products are really, it's really useful to put them on the Wazomatic, the old vortex mixer. They're so silty, so heavy in pigments and things, that having a really good sort of electric shaker is really, really good for them. Maybe this is a colour that I want to use. Do you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm at the end of the show here. I'm okay to sort of play around, experiment a little bit, as long as I don't go overboard. He says as he picks up clearly far too much paint. Let's just put a drop or two. Yeah. This might work really well. Certainly a bit easier to control coming out of the airbrush. I still got the Wazomatic title up. Let's lose that before Steph gets too carried away. Do you know what? It might actually be a colour that works really well. It's certainly easier to control, which is kind of a given because the shades, they're just very, very watery. bit too much there. Just kind of dab that way with my fingertip. I was just thinking like the tops of the arms as well. The reason I'm doing this is just to create a little bit of surface variety, just something extra, you know, just stops it from being just two dominant colours, you know, grey and yellow. Nothing more. And I'm not really a massive fan of snakebite leather. Don't really know why I have it. I just have. But if I can use it here, cool. Again, it's all going to be taken back with more yellow dry brushing. Oops. I'll just go straight in with some air and just kind of blow that back a little bit. Got to learn a bit more control over the airbrush there. Just going to blow some air in. There's a lot of like just water hanging around in there where I've been doing a lot of the like the ribs on the inside. It's just, yeah, every time I blow air in there, it's just kind of moving around. Maybe this is an application better done by brush. On the next one, I'll give that a try. It's looking very brown now, but I half expected that. I'll dial it back with some yellow dry brushing. Looks quite nice. It's very, very different. A little too brown in some places, but yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Well, let's just get rid of that brown from inside the airbrush there. That's cool. I like it. I'm going to stick around a little bit this evening, just for a little bit longer, I think, and see if I can dry that out. I'm really interested to see what happens if I go in and dry brush that back to yellow. I don't want to be like creating too much work for myself. The idea, of course, is to just get them done, right? Just got to learn finer control on the airbrush. That's all it is. So yeah, it's looking really, really cool. There's a comparison to without the that little bit of airbrushing I've just done. So it makes quite a difference, doesn't it? I will neaten it up. Betty's looking killer. That's cool. Thanks, man. Jeff says, "Hi, John. Has the snow stopped over there yet? Looks like something from a disaster movie." Yeah, man. I saw that little bit of footage of that restaurant beside the lakes. Man, those icicles, they're horizontal. It's mental. I hope you are okay. He has gone to say, we are sitting around 21 degrees centigrade, so all the snow has melted. Mother Nature has been hitting the bottle. Crazy, man. Yeah, do look after yourself. I like the look here. It's really good. So, to give us an idea of what we're doing with those Artis Opus dry brushes, not something I expected to be going on to today, but it's exciting, right? Just to kind of let you know that we are coming to the end of the show. We've got about 10 minutes or so left, so if you do want to kind of talk about anything, now's the time to do it. So yeah, there we go. Staff says, so is Frank being painted next week to join Betty? Frank and Betty, why not? There we go. So Betty is this one here with the pointy thing, yeah. Pointy Betty. I'm sure that's bad. Alright, okay, cool. What was I looking for? Dry brushes. Wicked. Okay, so I might just go for the large one because it's quite flat and it will do large areas quickly. I'm not really into doing detail with this one here, so it's a really clean brush. I gave this a really good clean out the other day, Kez. Wonderful stuff that you've given me here. Paint purger and brush cleanser. One looks like it's oil based and was kind of a bit of a nightmare to have sitting around, so I didn't use that one. I think it's actually the paint purger, it's the purple one. It's actually really quite, yeah, it's a very strange sort of odour, but really clean those brushes out. So yeah, I don't know what the cleanser is, it looks oily, it's weird. Right, I want to go back to using the paint that I started with at the beginning. Here it is, gold yellow. I actually do have gold yellow in a non-airbrush paint, so here we go. This is exactly the same thing, just it's thicker, and I'm going to give it a really good shake. Haven't had this one on the Wazomatic for such a long time, if ever really, so I'm going to give him a really good shake up. And it's going to be easier to work with for dry brushing because all my paints are really sort of airbrush that are really watery. Leslie says, right, I need to disappear now, guys, but I should have more free time now, so I'll have you back next week. Okay, Leslie, just to let you know, next year we are looking at going to Salute. I'm not going to sit here and badger on because I say it every week at the moment, but if you are interested in going out with the community next year, loads of time to plan for it, just go back to the beginning of this video. Right at the beginning, I talk about it there and at the end of previous videos. So if you want to know more, go and head on over there, or catch me later on and just drop us a line. I'll tell you all about it if you want to come with me and the rest of the community to a show together. It would be great. Or just punch me light. Steady. See you later, Leslie. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. The electric shake. Here we go. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of this paint to make sure that it's a nice dry surface. It is. It's throwing all sorts of liquid over there today. I've got a bit of a blockage. Cool. I've got a pointy thing here, which is perfect for piercing blocks dropper bottles. There we go. Look at that coming out all over the place. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick that up with a brush and just pop it down there, and there we go. It's been ages since I've used that paint, so it's kind of dried in the pot. It's to be expected. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a tiny drop of water, literally not even that, on the end of my fingertip, and I'm just going to put that into the bristles. What that's going to do is it's going to keep those bristles nice and moist, stops the paint drying up in the brush. You don't want anything more than just that slight amount. Just kind of rubbing a little bit off my hands, using it almost like a makeup brush, I suppose, and that should stop that paint from building up too dry. So making sure that I get a good coverage, so making sure that I kind of go all the way around the outside of that now. And now my sort of sheet of paper that I've been using for ages here on the show has got a lot of texture to it. You can buy texture palettes which are almost the same sort of thing. And now I'm going to brush this off, taking off the majority of it. And you can see how it's building up on the raised edges here on this sheet of paper. And that's exactly what a texture palette does, making sure that I get rid of the majority of the build-up. I don't want big swathes of paint to be going onto my miniature now. Okay, and I can always test it out. I'm just kind of rotating that brush around, making sure that it'll be very obvious if there is. And now I can come over here. All this area here is nice and dry, and I'm going to start just on the end of the tail down here. And all I'm going to do is just very gently just reintroduce that brightness back in, pushing that brown away, and I'm going right up to the carapace as well, because I want it to kind of, I don't want it to be so brown there. Working really well, and it will take a while. It's not going to happen straight away. And now I'm going to go up onto the leg here. That's working really well. Now I could actually go back to the smaller brushes and kind of getting real close and real tight. Gone a bit heavy with that that air brushing technique I was just doing a minute ago. So on the next one, I'll try it with just by applying it by brush. But of course, if the dry brushing isn't doing a good enough job for it, I can just go back in with yellow in the airbrush, right? And just kind of push it all back, which in some cases, like here, it's a bit too heavy brown. I think I might just do that. But it'll be going on nice and thin in the airbrush, so it won't be such a dominant, opaque colour. Nice and easy. I'm going to go back with a bit more paint. Still a bit blocked there. There we go. Really exciting brushes to use, but you know, it's a process. It's slow going. It's not a fast thing. So I can see there's a bit of shine to that, which means that the brush was a little bit too damp. So just kind of trying to work a little bit more off of it there. This leg here is quite brown, so I'm going to see if I can take it back. Bringing some of the edges up nicely though. I don't think that actually overall it's got the sort of effect that I would want from this, the dry brush itself, but I can definitely see applications for it. What I want actually is, rather than it to be bringing out edges, which is what this is doing, I want to kind of reintroduce the yellow colour back into it. So I'm going to hit it with the airbrush just at the end of this show. Just going to go back in and soften these browns up here. But that's really nice. It's actually really quite easy. I've just seemed to have hit the sweet spot, I think, with the moistness of the bristles. Yeah, it's really nice. Beginner's luck. Let's just do it on the yellow, on the white bit there, so you can see exactly how much yellow is coming off. Barely anything. Just hits those edges, just brightens the whole thing up. It's nice, it's really good. And there's no chalkiness, there's no sort of build up of dry paint, which is absolutely everything that I would want to avoid. Do you know what, actually I don't know if I do need to hit it back with the airbrush. That's doing a really good job there. I will try the brush method with the next one though, just to see which one works better. Do you know what? I'm gonna try it with the smallest brush. Where is the smallest one? There it is. Just a tiny bit of water. See if I can get it nice and close. It's my concentration voice, you can tell. Not saying anything. Do you know what? I like that. That's really nice. Thanks, Kez, for letting me have a go. I think Tyranids are the wrong thing to be doing it on, but it is still very fun. And this is just a quick go, right? Nice. That'll be very different when I brighten it up with the greys on there as well. Cool, man. What does everybody think? Did the snakebite leather do the job? Is it a bit too much? Remember, I want them to be predominantly yellow. There's a lot of brown going on here. I think I'm going to hit it with a transpirator, so I'll just really, really softly bring that that yellow back. Transpirator is basically an airbrush glaze medium, you know, so when the paint goes on, it goes on very, very transparent, so it'll soften those browns right up, bring that vibrance back out again. So I'm going to do that right now. But of course, we have reached the end of tonight's show, so we are about 10 minutes past. Some comments that are going in quickly, I'll just read them out. Let's get them away from the workbench. Here we go. Jeff says, all these high-tech cleaners for brushes, I just leave my brushes in a dirty pot of paint water for 3 days. Hang on, don't do that. That's a bad thing. Yes, it is. If you're buying expensive brushes, don't leave them in a pot of dirty water for any amount of time. But you're a terrain builder, so your brushes are a very different sort of brush, right? Right? Hopefully. Surely you change your water only when it smells. Yes, it smells. You can notice it. It's that old. It's manky. No, not your socks. It's looking good. Yeah, do you think so? I really like it. Again, I'll do it at the end of every show. I'll take some pictures of it. I'm going to do the other one as well, just for like sort of 20 minutes at the end of the show, half an hour, whatever. Jeff says I drink it. Well, art painter. You're just dirt. You're just dirt. Anyway, we are at the end of the show. I've had a really interesting and fun evening. Once we kind of got past the little blockages with the airbrush, but it's been a while since I've used it, so it was to be expected, really. So I apologise for that. Kind of stopped the show, clogged the show with a cloggy airbrush. But yes, it's been a really nice night. I hope you guys have had a really fun evening. I hope you guys have got loads of stuff done, and I'm really looking forward to meeting with you again in the new year, just next week. Yeah, if there's anything that you want to see or expect to see from EZ8 going into the future, do let me know. Let me know any of your kind of interests, concerns, or whatever. You can find me on all of the platforms mentioned just up there. You can talk about it in the comment section down there. I'm all ears. We've got some interesting things and interesting directions that we're going to be going with EZ8 into the new year. So thank you for being a part of the journey that I've enjoyed so much. It really is special to me. 75 subscribers. That's just wonderful. That was the target that I really wanted to hit before New Year, and we did it today. It was brilliant. So thank you so much for those of you that are sharing the word of EZ8, which is exactly the note that I'm going to leave you on. Let's leave 2022 behind us. It's been a bit of a weird year. There's been a lot of weird stuff going on. So let's look to the future. Yeah, Jeff says, looking good. Have a good new year all. Yes, don't forget that if you do like what we do here, don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the show. Get the word of EZ8 out there. The more of us that there are, the more of us that are sharing, the more people that will know about EZ8. It's exponential. Exponential. Big words, so I have to cut them down. Exponential. Yeah. It's been a wonderful year. It's been a wonderful couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to 2023. And this year, the Today Show, dedicated to all of you guys and everyone who's been a part of EZ8 from the beginning to this day. So here we go. Moving into 2023, episode 101 is done. My name's Danny. It says it right down at the bottom of the screen. This has been EZ8. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you very much. Stay safe, stay kind, and I'll see you next week. Keep on painting. See you soon. Bye-bye now. She was my best friend. Cheers, mate.